Hello, welcome to another Black Horizons program. I want to thank you for taking time out to join us for today's program. Today we'll be talking about basketball. It's been several years since Dalhousie University has had a contending team in the Atlantic Intercollegiate Basketball Conference. The 1982-83 version of the Tigers has changed that. Under the watchful eye of fourth-year coach Doc Ryan, the Dalhousie Tigers are now the third-ranked team in the nation. In today's Black Horizons program, we'll talk about what's involved in building a contending team and an assessment of the Tigers' chances of winning the AUAA and CIAU championships, and in addition, we'll talk to two players about their experience as Tiger players. Doc Ryan's extensive background as an all-star player with St. Xavier University gave Doc Ryan the experience he needed to move into his current coaching role with the Dal Tigers. Doc has played at Florida A&M, University of Tennessee, the University of Quebec, and has had several years of involvement with the Canadian national team as player and now as a coach. A native of Brooklyn, New York, Doc's natural coaching ability has been instrumental in molding the 1982-83 Dalhousie basketball Tigers into a leading contender in the AUAA. Stan Whetstone, who wears number 31 for the Tigers, stands 6'7" tall and is a third-year sociology major from Jersey City, New Jersey. Stan has been averaging this year 17 points per game and an average of 10 rebounds. Pat Colley, who wears number 25 for the Tigers, stands 6'7" and is a first-year student of the transition year program. Pat now lives in Dartmouth, but is formerly from East Preston. Gentlemen, I want to welcome you all to the Horizons program. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come along. Doc, I mentioned in our opening remarks that you had several years as a successful player with St. X in Antigonish. How did you go from a player at St. X to a coaching role at Dalhousie University? Could you tell us a bit about what was involved?
Sure. Well, actually, it happened in summer of '79 when I was down in Puerto Rico playing in the Pan Am Games for Canada. And I had sent in a resume. I heard that the coaching job was open. I had sent in a resume the previous year to about 4 schools in the eastern part of Canada. Consequently, it came as a total surprise to me, and it was late in the year, around July, when they called me up from Halifax down in the Olympic Village in Puerto Rico and asked me if I still wanted the job. And I discussed it with a few people, Coach Donahue and Coach Konchowski, and a few other people, and they thought it would be an ideal situation for me to get into start coaching because they knew that was what I intended to do. So when I flew back, I came directly down to Halifax, and we talked it over, and I liked what I saw, and I decided to stay on and be coach at Dalhousie.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, when you arrived at Dalhousie, what was your assessment of the team at that time? And could you tell us a little bit about what's involved in what's been involved in building the team from to a position where it's now number 3 contender in the country?
Well, initially when I got there, it was kind of surprising because playing against them in previous years, I was always under the impression that the attitude was not the right one to go out and play basketball with, because when I played at St. X, we used to come out and say, well, geez, here's an easy win for us going up to play Dalhousie. However, when I first got there in the summer, I found out that there were a couple of players, there were quite a few players who were coming back. I really didn't have that much of a chance to do a recruiting job that summer, being as how it was so late into the summer. And talking to some of the older players who had been there, I asked them what they'd been doing part of that summer, and to my surprise, I was shocked when one of the athletes told me that they'd been playing golf. So I mean, that doesn't make for too conducive a program.
Yeah.
So consequently, I said to myself, well, the attitude, there's got to be a big change in the attitude, and from there on, I went out and I recruited a couple of kids. And we went into the season starting that first year. And after playing up till about Christmas time, we had I would say pretty much about as much height as anybody else in the conference, but the players just didn't seem to have the ability. And that's where Steve Lambert came in at Christmas. I received a tip from a couple of friends saying that there was an individual that wanted to play basketball somewhere, and I got in touch with Steve Lambert, went down, and he was the first player that I actually recruited up here. And from then on there on, Lambert went through some tough stretches with me, and he was there with me from the beginning. And we've had to kind of stick it out. And then next year, Whetstone came along, and he had to sit out a year, and he played with our senior team with Budget Rent-A-Car. And from there, we progressed, and I picked up some more kids, and guys like Pat Slaughter really developed and came into their own. And then going into this year, well, we picked up a great find in Bohampton, as well as a few other prize rookies, and they're really doing a tremendous job for us. So basically, that's where we came from. But the biggest difference was just a change in attitude from '79 till now. It's as though in my first year, guys, we were going into games trying to figure out how, as a coach, I was trying to go into games, figure out how I could keep the game close. Not even, thinking of, well, can we win this one or can we win that one? But now the attitude is, hey, let's go out and, beat these guys, or how much are we going to beat these guys by, which is a complete turnaround.
Right. Well, your team is currently rated number 3 in the nation. For those people who may not be that close to basketball and not aware of what's involved in a rating like this, could you tell us how the ratings are arrived at, and could you give us some idea of how competitive the Atlantic Conference is vis-a-vis the other conferences across the country?
Well, the ratings go, there are 6 different conferences across the country. And what happens is each week there is a general convener from each conference who takes a polling of all the games that went on.
Yeah.
And the pollings are sent to Ottawa, essentially, and they get votes, and it's then decided on how which team rates. And basically, it goes back to the previous year where, for instance, like Victoria won the national championship, so it'd be logical to put them listed in the number 1 ranking. And they start out at the beginning of the year with the way the teams finish at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And then from there, they change the rankings as teams win and lose games. So consequently, we started the season, I would say probably ranked in the top 20 in the country. And as it turns out, we moved down and knocked off a couple teams up in Quebec area, Concordia. We won a tournament up there, which was very instrumental because they ended up number 4 in the nation last year. So we knocked them off, and then we've beaten St. FX since then, and they were ranked number 3. So consequently, we've moved up the ladder.
Right. Would you say that, what about the competitive level between this conference? Are we seeing some of the best basketball here in the Atlantic Conference in Canada?
I think that we have, I would say, 3 of the top 5 teams in the country right here in this conference. Between St. FX, ourselves, and St. Mary's, we're down there knocking heads every night, and you have to be ready to go out and play when you play against these guys, because for instance, the other night it was a 2-point game which they knocked us off in our gym. You have to be really mentally and physically ready to play. Across the rest of the country, there are very good teams, but I don't think any conference per se is as competitive. You may have maybe 2 good teams in another conference, but then you go out west and Victoria dominates their conference, and Brandon dominates their conference, so to speak. And as you come east, you find basically one team, as you come further east from the west,
yes,
you find basically one team that predominantly dominates their conference. However, down east, it's not so. It's very competitive, and if you're not ready to play, you can get blown out on any given night.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't be healthy, I wouldn't think, to be in a conference where you don't have that depth of competition. I think it's probably much better, is it not, to have a competition like we've got here in the Atlantic Conference?
Well, I think it makes great viewing for the basketball fans, especially in this area, and I think we have some of the finest, if not the finest in the country, as shown when teams go out and play in the national championships in the rest of the country. For instance, at Calgary, I remember one year I played, and I think there were more players in the arena and coaches than there were spectators.
Is that right?
And then in Victoria last year, not to knock them, because I think they did a great job of setting up an organization. However, the max that they had for their games, I think, was in the vicinity of maybe 2,500 to 3,500. Waterloo, I think, draws probably the second best in the country, where they put about 5 to 6,000 people in.
Yeah.
But we get that for our playoff games down here. We get, well, the last playoff game we had was 6,700, but we've had as much as 8,600 people in the Metro Center for just playoffs.
I remember one year the Canadian Championship was played at the Metro Center and you couldn't get a ticket. The place was sold out.
Yep, it was sold out. There was 10,000 plus standing room only.
Right.
You know, they had to turn people away. So without a doubt, this is, I think, the mecca of basketball.
Well, turning to your Tigers, what would you say are the main strengths of your team? How would you assess your team?
Well, I would think that this year, especially, we can match up pretty much with any team in the country. As far as in our conference, we have enough height up front, and I think we have one of the best backcourt men in the country in Steve Lambert running the show. Up front, we've got a big guy in the middle, though he's injured right now, and we have Stan at one forward, and then we have Paul Hampton, who I thought is a tremendous addition to this year's team, playing a small forward. And then in the backcourt, we have Pat Slaughter, local from Dartmouth, who's made tremendous strides since he first started playing. He's really worked hard at his game and is really coming on. Unfortunately, he has a broken hand right now, and he won't be able to play till February. So that's kind of hurt us a little bit. But Malott has come in off the bench and done a tremendous job filling in for him. And then there's guys like Colley who've come off the bench and done a pretty good job, as well as my brother Al and another Rob Bayard from Dartmouth also, and not to mention Dave Fraser from Glace Bay and Jeff Holmes from Yarmouth. So all in all, I think it's a pretty balanced team. I think we're very quick when we have all of our players there. Very fast. We can run with any team in the country. Right now, for this month of January, with the kids injured, we're playing a much slower style of play because of the fact we don't have the bodies to shuttle in and out of there like I normally do. But when the kids come back, you know, I think we'll go into February in full swing and gear up for March.
So the injuries to Slaughter and Peyn, I guess it is.
Yep.
Has that been a major factor in your success to date? Has it hurt you that bad, or have you been able to more or less hold it together?
You do a pretty good job on the French pronunciation there of his name, by the way. No, there's not too many people. A lot of people have trouble pronouncing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of hurting us. But guys, I said, it's been a blessing in disguise, though, really, because guys have had the opportunity to come in off the bench and get more playing time, and they've really developed, you know. So I could look at it and say that, yes, it has hurt us, but at one point, you know, I can look at it and say, no, it's given us another chance to get some other guys in, which I think will help us going down the stretch in late February and early March.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, do you think you'll go all the way? I know that this may be an unfair question, but are you planning on going right to the top this year?
No, it's not an unfair question. I told the guys at the beginning of the season that one way or another I plan to be in Waterloo.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where they're having a national championship. Now I don't think it's looking ahead too prematurely. We have some business we have to take care of first here in the conference. You know, we have to go ahead and win the conference, which I think we're in pretty good shape of doing right now. Then we have the regionals up in Fredericton to take care of, and then from there, you know, I think it's on the water. Yeah, I think we have an excellent chance of winning. I just think we have to play more as a team, and we have to get everybody involved in what we're doing. Everybody just has to give 100%. I don't think we have to play outstanding. I think if we just mesh together really well and the guys come together, that we can do the job.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, it's been about 10 years, I guess, since Dale's been able to beat their cross-town rivals, SMU. We saw some highlights in the opening of today's program of this week's game. It was a real squeaker. I was there. In fact, I didn't think I was going to be able to do the program today because I was shouting so much I was a little bit hoarse afterwards. Looking back at that game, the two games, actually, both of them have been lost by as little as 2 points. Would you do anything differently if you could replay those games, or what do you think you've got to do to beat this SMU team?
Well, first of all, you know, I'm not trying to make an excuse or anything like that, but the first game we played them on a much smaller surface, and my big guy was missing, and it really hurt us, I think, in the middle, where they're so strong. Their forte is their three big men up front. I mean, big. You know, they go 6'7", 6'8", 6'8". And consequently, when I have to match up, you know, with say 6'7", 6'5", and 6'5", then there is a difference in height advantage and also size, because my big kid does take up a lot of room in the middle. And then missing Slaughter, definitely a lot of quickness there, you know. But in playing against St. Mary's, I really enjoyed playing against them, and it's only a matter of time before we beat them. You know, we'll be healthy soon, and even looking back at the last two games, there was just one or two different things. Like I think if a few made shots here down the stretch, we missed a couple of free throws, you know, and I think a few people, you know, didn't hit shots they normally would make in the games, and we could have won the game. And the funniest thing is, though, like, the players have the confidence in themselves now, because they can look back and say, hey, despite how bad, you know, we played, and they, you know, not all of them played bad. I thought we had a few outstanding performances. I really thought only about 2 or 3 players did a good job for me that night on the floor in the starting 5. You know, I thought the bench came in and did a super job.
Yeah.
But they played the caliber which we played, and we still only lost the game by 2 points. So I think that should tell them something as far as you know, their self-confidence is concerned for the next ensuing game.
Well, it's pretty early in the season to tell, but I think it's likely come down to a SMU-Dal confrontation, won't it, in this conference?
Well, you can never be sure. As I said, you know, hey, X, I don't think we can count X out, you know, because they've lost a couple of games. Konchowski does a pretty good job with the guys he's got up there, and you know, I'm sure he'll have them back on track before long. And as well as, like, Acadia, you can't, with this conference, you just can't go into a game taking anything for granted, because you know, they're liable to come out and knock you off. I mean, it's tough going down to play basketball at Acadia. They have tradition up there on their side, and the boys come out, they come out ready to play. Same thing over in PEI. I've went over there and been involved in games where we've lost games to PEI by maybe 2 or 3 points on the island, and came back over here and beaten them by as much as 40 or 50. So, I mean, anything can happen over on the island, and, you know, you can't discount UMB either. So that's the nice thing about the conference. It's really, I think, early to predict the final outcome, but I am going out on a limb and saying we'll be there in March when it counts.
Well, Yogi Berra would say it's never over till it's over.
Right.
Well, I want to, before I pass over to Stan, I want to get into a question again, which may not be that fair, Doc. I want to ask you, in your opinion, how much of the success of a basketball team can be attributed to coaching, and how much has to do with the talent, with the players? Well,
I think, you know, I joke about it quite considerably, but regardless of how great the coach is, you know, I don't care if they had John Wooden or whoever they had in here. Without the players, right? The players is #1 priority. Without the players, the job doesn't get done. Now, once you have the players, it then becomes a very important aspect. I've seen some people say, well, I've got the greatest players in the world. All they have to do, I don't even have to be here. I don't even have to show for the games. All they have to do is go out on the floor and play. Well, you know, that is a total understatement also, because what happens is a lack of organization, and that's where the coach comes in. I think the coach has to take the individuals, take their individual talents, and blend them together as a team, so that they can mesh as one cohesive unit. Then once he does that, basically the job of coaching is just preparation. You prepare your guys to go out and play against X or Acadia, and once the preparation is done, then his job is finished. You know, like, basically the guys go out there and it's their show. At, you know, 8 o'clock, it's their show, their thing, basically.
Right. Well, I'm going to come over to you now, Stan. I'm going to hit you with a hard one to make sure that you're not sleeping here on the program. We've been talking about coaching and about teamwork and so on. Some not too charitable critics of the Dal team have suggested that Dal has got the team in the league that's got the players who've got the individual stats, but they lack this element of teamwork. How would you respond to somebody who would suggest such a thing?
I don't really feel that we...
I recognize you might be intimidated by the fact that your coach is sitting right next to you, but...
No, I think we are not a team with just stats. We have good players, which is true, but what's just happening is that we do have a couple of people who are young and have been playing, may not have experience as the rest of 2 or 3 of the guys. But it's just early in the season, and people do get uptight and things like that. But I'm sure when time comes for us to play, we'll be there.
Right.
You know,
I want to congratulate you, by the way, for a fine game the other night against Smew. Your situation, Stan, is a little bit different than a lot of the players in the conference who come from outside of Nova Scotia, in that you weren't recruited by the school, but you actually recruited the school. What made you choose Dale as a school that you wanted to play your university basketball career at?
Well, actually, what happened was that story is a little jumbled up, but I guess you couldn't really say that I recruited the school. I didn't like the school I was at. I was attending Lowell University in Massachusetts, and I was there for 2 years, and just the atmosphere and the athletic program just wasn't, what I felt it should be. So I was having a pretty good year my sophomore year, so I figured I'd leave and try to attend another school that would help me more as an athlete. So I had a friend who was going to Lowell at the time, and he transferred and came up to Canada, St. Mary's University, player name of Mike Robinson.
Yeah.
So I got in contact with him, and he told me that it was really nice up here, and the people were friendly, and it was a good league, and television, things like that. So I figured I'd see what I could do. So he got a few phone numbers for me. But really what was the problem was that they have an eligibility rule here for imports.
Yes.
And it really came down to where I had to see what was the best thing for me. And I got in touch with Coach Doc Ryan, and out of talking to most of the other coaches, he seemed to be the best. So I got in contact with him and came to Dow.
So it wouldn't be fair to say that Doc didn't have any involvement at all in your decision to go to
Matter of fact, he influenced me the most out of the rest of the coaches, actually.
Right. Well, I understand that you had some adjustments to make. The style of basketball here in Nova Scotia was a little bit different than what you were accustomed to. Do you feel that you've been able to make the adjustment? Are you satisfied with your game to this point, or can we see bigger and better things from Whetstone as the year goes on?
Well, every time I say I'm going to play bigger and better, I got to make sure I do that. But I think I can play a lot better than I'm playing now. The biggest thing is refereeing. I'm not to put the refs down and everything. I think they do a good job. It's just that the style of play that I used to playing at is more physical. And here they kind of watch the big men more, not as much as they watch the guards, I would say. And sometimes they'll let you get away with it, and sometimes they don't. It's the referee's discretion. So, like right this year, what I just done instead of last year is just play the game and not worry about, the refs are going to get on my back or anything like that. Just go out and play and to the best of my ability. And I find that's been the best solution. So this year I've been having a better year.
Yeah, well, 24 points I think you pulled down the other night, and I don't know, 15 or 16 rebounds is not a bad game for anybody. Dave Nutbrown, the coach of Acadia, when he was asked about you, indicated that he felt the strongest part of your game was in the defensive area. Would you agree with that?
Yes, because that's been the basic of my playing basketball. When I played in high school, St. Mary's High School, and our coach just always had me playing defense, like blocking shots and rebounding, because I wasn't really a scorer, because I only started playing basketball like my sophomore year of high school. And what eventually happened was that's all I worked on was blocking shots and getting rebounds and dunking, things like that. And it was never really about points or anything. So, but I've had a couple of breaks lately, and I'm turned into a scorer. So
yeah, right.
Happy for that.
Okay. In an article which appeared in one of the local papers, you were talking about the attitude that you found when you came to Dal, and we've just been talking to Doc a bit about that. Could you tell us a little bit more about what the attitude was like when you first came to Dal, and what the situation is like with the team now, and this year being ranked number 3?
Well, when I first came to Dal, the attitude I felt was just that we had the people, the height and things like that, but it just wasn't in the heart. Like, I guess you could say that was ability. Like, we would go out and we'd see other teams and we'd go, well, we're just as good as them, but they got a few guys that may be better than us. They have a reputation, but you have to prove yourself on the court. And this year, it's not like that. We're the ones that everyone says, well, they got him. But we have to do the same thing now. We have to prove ourselves. Like, you step on the court and it's time to play. You can't just say, well, I'm so-and-so or Canadian or whatever. You have to play, prove yourself every night.
Yeah.
And our team is doing that.
You think you're going to be able to master your crosstown rivals, Smew?
Well, with this...
quite a matchup between you and Ladder the other night.
Yeah, with this monkey on the back stuff, I don't believe in... I'm not superstitious,
Yes.
so I just think it's a matter of us just, in certain tight situations, just getting it together and not getting too uptight. That's all. It's just nerves, a lot of things like that.
You got your bags packed for the Nationals, have you?
Oh yeah.
Well, you're originally, you came to Nova Scotia via South Carolina. You're from Carolina originally.
Well, actually, I just lived there for 2 years.
I
My
see.
parents are from South Carolina, but I only lived there for 2 years. Then we moved to Jersey.
So you've played all of your ball in
Jersey.
and around New York, New Jersey area.
East Coast.
Right. Pat, I want to go over to you. Pat Colley, you're now living in Dartmouth, but you're formerly from East Preston.
Yes.
Where did you play your high school basketball before you went on to Dalhousie?
Well, I only played 1 year of high school ball, and that was at Prince Andrew, out by the Rotary.
Yeah.
Really, I played ball in Halifax with the community-wide program.
Oh, I see. Louis Gannon's program.
Yes.
Right. But you'd only have 1 year of experience at the high school level.
Yes.
Well, that must have been a lot of adjustment for you to make going into a rigid program that Dal has. It was quite a bit of an adjustment, I suppose, for you, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, it was tough. I'm still in that period of adjustment, but I think I'll get there.
Yeah. What parts of your game do you think that you've got to concentrate on?
Rebounding.
Rebounding, using your height to advantage, eh?
Yes.
You're satisfied with your offensive skills, though, are you?
Well, I was never really a scorer until, like, my last year of high school. And, like, right now, I just want to become a better defensive player, and then offense will come.
Right. How would you say, working with the Y program, do you feel that gave you any advantages over the regular high school program? Do you think the program there was better than what you might have got in high school? Or how was it that you were played more for the Y as opposed to getting involved in high school ball?
Well, I had tried out for Queen Elizabeth High School.
Yeah.
And I made the team, but they said that I wasn't going to get any time. So I left the team and worried about my studies. And then next year, I was just downtown, and the coach of the juvenile team, Smokey Tolliver,
Yes.
he asked me if I was playing any ball for anybody, and I said no. He told me to come to his tryouts.
Yeah.
So I went to his tryouts, and it all started from there, really.
Right.
It was a lot more competition.
Right. Well, in the few minutes that we have left on today's program, Pat, I understand that you're a student in the TYP program. What has that program meant to you?
It's given me a great opportunity. Like, I didn't really have the marks to enter university right away. So really, they helped me a lot. Like, my English has improved. My mathematics skills are improving a lot. And the fields that I want to go into, like recreation, maybe psychology, I need those strengths. So it's a really good asset.
Kind of give you an opportunity that might not have been there otherwise if the program hadn't been there, eh?
Yes.
How do you find keeping up the pace? It must be pretty hectic, being a student in the TYP program and being involved in a